Yo, what's up, guys? We're back. It's going to be the third installment of Jack Tech Presents the Aftermatch. This is going to be for UFC 258. It's a pretty great card overall, man. I mean, what did you think about it? You think it was, what did you think about the card? Just, I know it didn't have a lot of name value, but it did seem like, a lot of the fights delivered for sure.
Yeah, I think it was definitely one of those cards where going into it, a lot of people, it was heavily criticized for a pay-per-view card, but in terms of action and excitement, it definitely delivered.
Yeah, man. So let's get right into it. The first fight of the night, it was Gabe Green taking on Phil Rowe. We were talking about it a little bit before. I mean, I felt like this was a pretty close fight where, Phil Rowe, I thought he won the first round, and then the third round he had a lot of control time, but obviously, Gabe Green racked up those low kicks, was hurting him with those, and definitely landed the more damage. So, I mean, I thought it was a close fight, but Gabe Green got the decision. What did you think about it? Were you impressed by either guy, or what do you think about it moving forward?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty certainly, exciting fight, but I think both guys definitely look like they could, sharpen up a little. But I'm on the other side. I think that Gabe Green won the fight, but I can definitely see the argument with the control time for Phil winning. But yeah, I think both guys don't, warrant a huge step up next. I think, a nice steady progression for either guy.
Yeah, I mean, do you think for Gabe Green, I think he has two fights now in the UFC at 170. Do you think he's still gonna? You think that's gonna be his weight class, and what do you think is gonna be next for him?
Yeah, I do think that he looks like he could potentially make the cut, but he also looks like he has a lot of muscle mass. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that um, he's going to continue to fight at welterweight since that's where he's, began his first two fights. And I was thinking a good matchup for him next. I don't usually like to put winners versus losers, but another guy that's 1-1 in the UFC that I think would be an awesome stylistic fight would be Christian Aguilera.
Okay, so yeah, you got it. That's like a knockout artist. Another one that I was thinking is kind of similar. What if he fought Chaos Williams? What do you think about that? It'd be like an interesting fight, right?
Yeah, I do think that would be a fun one too. I hadn't that one hadn't even thought like came across my mind. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That would be another banger. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for Phil Rowe, I mean, to me personally, I didn't think he looked necessarily like he was UFC level. So, like, what are you thinking? Would you think you're gonna have to give him one of these guys like a Jared Gooden or Brahimaj, Nickel Stoltze or something like that?
Yeah, I definitely think one of the lower tier guys, especially somebody on a similar experience level, because he hasn't had that many fights. So yeah, like Lewis Corse or Stolze, Brahimaj, someone along those lines. Even Gooden, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I do think Phil Rowe has maybe more potential than Gabe Green, but both guys to me didn't really, show like great skills in there. But this next fight, it was a good one. Andre Ewell taking on Chris Gutierrez. What did you think about this fight? Did it go the way you thought it was going to go? And, what do you think about both guys?
Yeah, going into it, I was a little concerned for the short notice for Gutierrez, but I thought, stylistically the matchup, boxer versus kickboxer, Andre Ewell's kind of fought a lot of close fights and slowed down as the fights have progressed. So I picked Gutierrez to win. And yeah, he came through, got it done. I had a few moments in the third round where he was close to putting Andre Ewell away, but Ewell didn't look great to me in this fight. He was trying to play like the outside range game. He looked good in the first round and bloodied his nose, but by the third, he was, at times running.
Yeah, to me, this was another one of these fights that it was close in a way because I actually thought Andre Ewell was, clearly winning that first round where I mean, it was like I think he got dropped with less than 10 seconds left in the round and then gave the round to his opponent. Then the second round I thought Ewell won. So I mean, if he wouldn't have got dropped in that first round, we could be looking at a win for Ewell, but Chris Gutierrez did kind of beat him up down the stretch. The third round, I mean, it could have been a 10-8. He started to kind of style on him. So I was pretty impressed by Chris Gutierrez. So What do you think about him moving forward? Do you think he should get like a top 15 guy next or close to the rankings?
Yeah, like if you look over his record, it's a five-fight unbeaten streak. He's got the one draw in there that a lot of people feel like he maybe should have won. So yeah, I think we've got that matchup coming up soon with Sean O'Malley's taking on Thomas Almeida. I think that if O'Malley wins that, he'll be 5-1 in the UFC, and I think that that will be a good clash of styles, and determine who gets the next step up into the higher up of the divisions. Because I think O'Malley's going to have to start fighting these tougher guys eventually, rather than the older age and veterans and stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you think? What if I saw Chris Gutierrez put this one on Twitter? He was saying that he would be interested in fighting Yadong Song next, who I think is fighting Kyler Phillips coming up. But that's a kind of a strikers fight, so I think that would be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, that's another one that I think could be fun. And Yudong's another guy that's close to the rankings too. So yeah, I think definitely a step in that direction. Some of the bigger name guys.
And then for Andre Ewell, I mean, it does seem like he's definitely UFC level. He wins and loses, but I mean, what do you think about him? Would you give him like a similar level opponent, or I mean, Brian Kelleher? What do you think?
Actually, yeah, Kelleher was one of the ones that I thought about and considered, because both those guys have kind of floated kind of near the top 20 of the division before, but always kind of faltering in places. Interesting stylistic matchup. I think Kelleher's a good one. And this guy is coming off of 2 wins, but he's kind of fresh to the scene. I think it will be another good stylistic matchup. Him and Nathan Maness.
Oh yeah, that would be an interesting fight too, because they're both kind of similar in a way where they're long southpaw strikers.
Yeah. I think that will be a really good stylistic fight. That one between those two, and Yule, he's picked up some wins in the UFC, but a lot of them are really close fights, and I think Nate Maness would bring a dogfight out of him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like Ewell, like he has moments like if you watch even that fight with Gutierrez, like where he will kind of attack hard, go to the body, and like sit in the pocket and exchange. But like you said, it's like too much movement, and like he doesn't really ever like stamp himself as the aggressor going forward and stuff. Which I would like to see him do more, because I feel like he has potential, but for whatever reason, I mean, never really puts it all together. But this next fight, Polyana Viana taking on Mallory Martin, it was kind of two ways this fight was going to go. If Mallory Martin was able to survive that early jiu-jitsu storm or not get finished on the feet, she probably would have won. But Polyana Viana got her 11th first round submission in a row for her last 11 wins. So, I mean, I think that's 2 wins in a row first round for Polyana Viana. Mallory Martin is 1-3 in the UFC now, so she's kind of in danger of being cut. But what did you think about this fight?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty much going to go one or two ways. I thought Mallory would be able to get her down, get the takedowns, and hold her down for 3 rounds, get a decision win. And that's who I picked to win, Mallory Martin. Unfortunately, Polyana Viana just, absolutely wicked ground game, guard game. And there was moments there where I thought she was, Martin was going to manage to get away from all the attempts.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time where, she had her in that triangle and Mallory was basically out. I mean, to me, it looked like she was like 90% out of the triangle. And then she slammed herself back into the triangle, which was a really bad mistake. And, eventually got her in that arm lock. But Viana, I mean, I still not sold on her. I still think she kind of has questionable cardio. She's not necessarily a good striker. She has real poor takedown defense. But man, I mean, she definitely shows she's dangerous, could submit these girls. So for Polyana Viana, I mean, what do you think about? You think that she should get like a significant step up, or you still think she's kind of like in that zone where you don't really know about her too much? I think Jack Tech's having some issues. So I mean, for me, I mean, Polyana Viana, I don't know. I don't know what the UFC necessarily wants to do with her, if they see her as like a a commodity or not. I do think that if they do want to give her like a step up of competition, they could give her someone like a Randa Marcos, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. So those could be potentially, decent matchups for her, maybe even like a Felice Herrig. But I don't know if she's gonna, ever jump into that upper echelon of the division. As far as Mallory Martin, I mean, 1-3, I haven't really been impressed with her in the UFC. I would say maybe give her someone like a Sam Hughes, Jinyu Frey, some of these girls that are just not that great, but maybe she could go in there and get a win over those girls, get some confidence back, because I do think Martin is younger. I think she's only like 25 or 26, and she isn't necessarily the worst prospect in the world still, in my opinion. So I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to her getting one of those fights, trying to get a bounce back performance. Maybe even give her a girl like Miranda Granger or something. But I mean, I still am not really sold on either girl, to be honest with you. I feel like they both could kind of show a little bit more. But Viana, she's been impressive. You can't really say much about it. And the next fight, Bilal Muhammad taking on Diego Lima. Man, I mean, you had Bilal Muhammad go in there and do what he does again, but he kind of had a couple moments, just like usual, where he kind of gets hit. He had some trouble with the low kicks, so he had some issues, but he went in there, got a great performance done like he usually does. And Jack Tech's coming back in here, so I'm gonna patch him in and see what he has to say about it. So, did you hear what I said? We're on the Bilal Muhammad Diego Lima fight. What did you think about Bilal's performance? Were you impressed? Did he do what you thought he was going to do?
Yeah, I'll say that I was impressed with both guys in this one. Honestly, Bilal, came out and fought as he always does, but his hands look crisper and cleaner than ever. I thought Diego honestly did a good job of rolling with the punches and landed a lot of nice leg kicks throughout. I think he kind of, overperformed in my estimation, and Bilal going in there and picking up a good dub.
Yeah, I mean, Bilal Muhammad, man, at this point, I think he's won 8 out of 9 fights. But I mean, do you see him as like a elite guy, or do you think he's just maybe like a step below?
I don't know. I think he's another guy who, at this point, the amount of wins that he's racked off back to back, I think he deserves like a step into the rankings.
Yeah, see, I was thinking like he called out Lee Jiglieg, right? Which I think would be a good fight. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like he could even potentially even get like a higher weight guy to that, but it's just hard to with that division. I mean, unless he fights someone like a Chiesa or something, I don't see him getting any of those names. Like a Stephen Thompson, Woodley, Masvidal, one of those type of guys. So,
do you not think he could maybe get a guy like Maya?
Damian Maya?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just because it's going to be Damian's last fight, so I don't think they would do that. I mean, maybe they would. Maybe he could get if he wanted to fight like a legend type of guy, he could fight like a Robbie or like Carlos Condit. But to me, he's kind of like above them.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, even if he fought a guy like James Krause or like a Jake Matthews, I mean, I feel like that'd be him giving like an opportunity to them. But I'm not necessarily sold on Bilal. Like, I know he wants to be, like says that he wants to be in the conversation for the title and all that, but I still want to see him, like, even though he's won 8 of these 9 fights, I still want to see him beat, like, I still don't think he's really beaten anybody that good.
How about this one? Obviously, Hamza and Leon's been scheduled and fall out quite a few times now. How about if Chimaev were to nurse his injuries, come back and fight a guy like Bilal?
Yeah, see, that would be a good fight because it would be a good name for both guys. Bilal would get a name guy, and then Hamza would have a chance to beat him. But yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about Bilal? Like, do you think he could actually like if he fought a Colby Covington, you think he would lose 50-45, or you think he'd push him?
Honestly, I think he would give like a lot of trouble to a lot of guys in the top 10. But I do think there are like maybe like a lot more technical guys the higher up the division gets. But I don't know. I think he would do well in quite a few fights. I think the Li Jingliang fight is a tough and good fight for him. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much that's the main one that I would like to see, and it's he called it himself. That would be a good one. Chiesa, that would be a fun one too.
Yeah, and then as far as Diego Lima, you said you thought he had a good performance, and he had what, three in a row before this fight. So would you drop him too far in the rankings, or would you give him a guy kind of that top 25 range again?
Um, I think I would maybe give him somebody like a Lyman Good, something along those lines.
Yeah, that would be an interesting fight as well. I mean, what do you think if he fought? I'm trying to try to think of like a striker because I want to see him fight like someone like that. Lyman Good would be a good one. If he fought maybe like a what if he fought like a Tim Means or something? Something like
Yeah,
that. Where
that's
I
another
don't
good
want to
one.
see
Yeah.
him fight a grappler because he showed he has good takedown defense, but I don't. I want to see him more like free flowing. He's more of a fun fighter just to watch to me because I don't necessarily like see him moving up in the rankings or anything. But this next fight, man, this is probably the craziest fight on the card, if not the whole year, with Rodolfo Vieira and Anthony Hernandez. I mean, I think it was the first time that a ADCC champion got submitted since 2001 when Frank Mir submitted who was it? I can't remember who it was, but he submitted someone that I think Marcio Cruz or something potentially that won the ADCC like all the way back then. But man, I mean Anthony Hernandez, he got taken down right away. Showed a lot of composure and was able to get out of the mount, out of the back mount. Eventually, Vieira was exhausted and Hernandez just took over the fight. So man, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I was all over Vieira in this spot. You know, I thought that it was just one of those situations where Fluffy was getting that one final shot, and it was going to be a nightmare matchup, and he would get submitted in the first round. But he worked his way through all the worst spots in the first round, and absolutely destroyed Vieira on the feet, and then finished him off with the submission, icing on the cake. Yeah, just crazy performance.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was pretty impressive by Fluffy Hernandez, man. I mean, he had that one loss to Kevin Holland, but he has a pretty good resume for being his age, and he's a fun fighter to watch. It seems like he has. I like his mindset and the way that he talks. I feel like he has a lot of confidence about himself. So, I mean, I know he has those kind of bad losses where he got finished against Marcus Perez. He got finished against Kevin Holland really quickly, but I mean, this was a statement win right here. So, I mean, what do you think about Hernandez going forward? Do you think that he actually has potential?
Yeah, I think it was kind of evident in his first contender series performance, even before he got to the UFC. I thought that I seen potential in him, but yeah, just hasn't really managed to put it all together. And you know, maybe last night was the turning of the corner. Maybe he's gonna start, performing more appropriately. I would like to see him fight another big jack guy in the division that's just moved down from light heavyweight, Dolce.
Oh man, yeah, that's an interesting matchup right there because it's like another guy that could maybe get tired in the fight, but man, yeah, that's a good matchup right there for him for sure. And then what do you think about Adolfo Vieira? I mean, he's 2-1 in the UFC now. He was a huge favorite in this fight, but obviously he dropped the ball. So, I mean, what do you think about his career going forward?
Yeah, it's hard to tell at this point. I think we all know that he's going to be like a nightmare matchup for anybody in the first round. But if you can extend him and get out of those bad positions on the mat, it could be anybody's fight type of situation. So, um, tough to know who to match him up with next. If you want to go with somewhat of a freak show fight, you could do Rodolfo Vieira versus Deron Win.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking another kind of weird fight that they could do would be Vieira versus Jordan Wright, because that'd be like, I don't know, it'd be like a meme KO, or Jordan Wright would get destroyed really
Oh
quick.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be pretty fun. Yeah.
So there's all like that's kind of what I don't really know like what the UFC's direction is if they like with Vieira, if they still think he, could win fights. I think they're gonna give him someone, like who the fuck, Jack Marshman, like someone that can't even defend a takedown, right? But I mean, if they think that maybe he's not like gonna ever become anyone, maybe they'll give him like a someone that they think will knock him out, So
I
it'll
don't know
be
if you recall or not, but after he picked up his last win, they asked him. I think it was Joe Rogan asked him if he wanted like a a top 10, top 15 guy, to, call out type of thing. And he said that like he was pretty much inexperienced and he was happy fighting top 50 guys. So I don't think he had like the highest expectations of himself, honestly, in hindsight. So I definitely think he needs a step back. Yeah, Jordan Wright, I like that one. Yeah,
Yeah, Jordan Wright. I just think it would be a funny fight if however it went down. But I mean, yeah, Vieira definitely didn't look good in that one, and he actually put a good matchup right there. I mean, what do you think about that one? I mean, Julian Marquez versus Hernandez, but we're about to talk about Julian Marquez coming up in his fight, so that'd be another interesting matchup there. But yeah, Julian Marquez against Maki Pitolo. I mean, to me, he was looking horrible the whole fight. He's getting dominated, out grappled, lost the first 2 rounds pretty clearly. And even in my opinion, I mean, the third round, you could tell Maki was kind of fading away, but I thought there was a lot of questionable decision making by Marquez. Like he was, I mean, eventually he got a front choke finish, so I guess maybe he's smarter than me, but he was attacking a lot of front chokes when I thought Maki was kind of ready to go on the feet, attacking, submissions and takedowns. And I thought he could have had a lot cleaner performance, but man, I mean, yeah, like Marquez went in there and showed that he's a dog still, and you can't really ever count him out. So kind of just outwilled Maki Pitolo and took him out at the end. So I mean, it was a good performance in a way, but I mean, what do you think about Marquez, and what do you think that's the last fight for Pitolo in the UFC?
yeah, it's tough to say because I feel like if he had gone in there and got dominated or finished fairly quickly, it would almost certainly be his last fight in the UFC. But man, he won so much of the fight before he dropped the ball. But I think that's 1-4 now in the UFC, and they have been kind of making a few more cuts. So Mikey Pitolo is potentially one that'll be gone. And for Marquez, after I seen the weigh-ins, I thought these guys should be fighting in separate divisions, and regardless of layoff, Marquez should like easily win this fight, and that was just not the case whatsoever. He was thoroughly controlled and out wrestled and out hustled for the majority of the fight. But then, as you say, Maki Pitolo, I think the size disadvantage really came into play later in the fight, and then Marquez got the front choke.
Yeah, I mean Marquez, he kept attacking that like the 10 finger guillotine. That eventually he ended up getting that anaconda, but he definitely has good front chokes for sure. Like you could tell he has a lot of trust and faith in him too. But I don't really like that type of game plan. Like people that attack a lot of front chokes. That's why he was on his back too, like 90% of the fight. So, but I mean, he's one of these guys though. Like he's a maximum effort guy. You know what I mean by that? It's like he's always gonna be in your
Going
face.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And he's not that good, but it's almost like Ian Heinisch is similar, or like people like that where they get like 100% out of their skill set that they could get. So he's I don't know. I mean, that was his first fight back after a long time, so he could look better, in his next fight. But what do you think about him? What do you think about a matchup for him?
I'm just having a look and I'm thinking maybe Tafon and Chukwi just got done picking up a decision win over Jamie Pickett. I think that would be a crazy fight.
Yeah, that would be someone would get knocked out in that fight for sure. For sure, I would
No
think,
doubt.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking even if he fought, just because I know he's training over there too at Glory now, and they have that beef with Buckley. Even that would be an interesting fight
Yeah.
because like I don't think Mark has necessarily proved like he's like elite level guy, even though he's coming off a win. And Buckley, I think that would be a decent fight right there because
Yeah, like I think question marks about both guys and yeah, I agree. That would be a fun one. Yeah.
but that'd be another fight too where Marquez would be way bigger. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, then this next fight, I was impressed by this guy's performance. Ricky Simone, he went in there and just dominated Brian Kelleher. So, were you expect? I know, or actually, I think I know who you picked in this one. So, you probably you thought that Brian Kelleher was going to put up a much better performance versus Ricky, right?
Yeah, I did. I thought that he would have a lot more answers in terms of the anti-grappling. Um, and yeah, I thought that he would look better on the feet too. But I do think that maybe his performance was kind of hindered early on in the fight when Simone got him down and landed a good elbow to his eye. I think that definitely, messed with him going forward. But at the same time, yeah, amazing performance from Ricky Simone. Can't take anything away from him, and is more than likely going to be fighting another ranked guy next.
Yeah, man. I mean, Ricky Simone's a guy that, I've liked, since he came into the UFC. I've always said I think I could see him, moving up and coming a ranked guy, maybe even fighting for the belt, something like that. Because he's a relentless dude. And I mean, if you've seen him, he isn't really the best striker, but you could tell he's getting a lot better with that. And the way that he took down Brian Kelleher and controlled him, man, I mean, man, I was surprised by that. I really was because usually, Brian Keller, I don't know what his takedown, defense percentage was before this fight, but I can't remember him getting taken down too many times. And, Simone was able to easily get out of the guillotines, really easily pulled his head out. I mean, it seemed like he was super ready for that. So, yeah, I mean, he just absolutely went out there, put a clinic on Brian Keller. So to me, I mean, went in there, he had a fun fight where we've seen what Rob Font has done recently. He took down Rob Font like 5-6 times. It was back and forth. So I think he should get another, move up like towards the upper echelon of the division. So, I mean, what do you think? Who do you think he should get next?
It's I think potentially a fun stylistic one would be him and Stamen. Both guys obviously like wrestling is the race in the hole, but both are somewhat underrated on the feet too. So, and Stamen was supposed to be fighting a week or two ago, and his opponent pulled out. So I know that he'll be looking for a matchup to get back in there as soon as possible, and I think that could be a good one.
Yeah, and then for Brian Kelleher, I mean, he took a loss here, but he's always fun to watch. He's a veteran, so he's definitely going to be, hanging around. So for him, I mean, who do you think he should get next?
How about the winner of? No, well, maybe not, depending on who wins it. I was gonna say Hani Yaya. I think that
Yeah,
will be a fun matchup.
yeah, that would be an interesting one. I like Hani. I've always been like a big fan of Hani. So yeah, that would be a fight where Kelleher would probably have to try to keep it on the feet. Another fight that I was thinking, I mean, just because both these guys are fun to watch. What if he fought Luis Smolka?
Oh yeah, that is a good one that I like. Yeah, like both. Yeah, like action fighters. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Kelleher, he would have to drop down to 135 again for that one because I don't think Smolka would move up to featherweight. But I mean, I don't think he really has a lot of issues with that. So that would be, an interesting fight to me. I feel like so. Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Brian Kelleher too. I like his style. He's a killer be killed type of guy. So yeah, he's a fun guy to watch. So I definitely think he's gonna stick around for sure. And this next fight we had Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. But right before, I just want to give a shout out MMA Genie. Thanks for the super chat, man. Great work, boys. I really super chat. Appreciate it, dude. But yeah, man. I mean, what did you think about Kelvin's performance against Ian Heinisch? I mean, me personally, Joe Rogan. I mean, he was saying like I heard him say it multiple times, like he was a championship performance, and he was like gassing up Kelvin, but. I mean, I thought Kelvin looked pretty bad. Personally, I didn't think he looked that good. But I mean, he went in there and did what he had to do. Out wrestled Ian Heinisch, who we've all seen he's had issues with wrestlers throughout his career. So, but yeah, what did you think about Ian Heinisch and Kelvin Gastelum?
Yeah. I faded KG in this spot. It was a what have you done for me lately type attitude that I took with it, and yeah, he came out with a wrestling heavy approach. I thought that the fight would maybe take place a lot more on the feet. But yeah, um, pretty. It's a win's a win for Kelvin at this point. But yeah, I'm definitely nowhere near as enthusiastic about it as Joe Rogan was.
Yeah,
And yeah, just not great.
yeah. I mean, I know he called the matchup that he called for, though. To me personally, I mean, I know it's contingent on someone pulling out, but that's an interesting matchup. Like that's the type of matchup I would like him to have, like a pure striker. Like if he fought a Whitaker or Costa, that's a fight he could win for sure, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think that those are ones that favour him stylistically. I don't think that after losing three in a row and then picking up one, that's the one that they'll look to give him. I think that he's more likely to fight. I don't know. I don't even know at this point. Just all the L's. I don't
Who I
know.
was
Maybe.
thinking he could fight is what if he fought the winner of Holland versus Derek Brunson?
Yeah, yeah. Potentially that could be a good one. Yeah.
See, because I mean, if he fought Kevin Holland, I mean, I don't know. That would be a good fight in my opinion. For if Gastelum won that fight, he'd be right back in the mix.
Yeah, because Kevin has definitely got some momentum behind him now at this point, and Brunson's also been on a tear as well. So if Brunson picks up a dub there, and Calvin manages to derail that win streak, that would be big for him as well.
Yeah, and I did see too. Uriah Hall was like, he was saying if he beats Chris Weidman that he wants to fight Calvin again. But I mean, me personally, I don't really find a need to see that rematch. But I mean, what would you think about that fight?
I wouldn't be too opposed to it just because I wasn't that impressed with the performance from Calvin. So I do think that maybe it would go. I don't think it would look anything like the same fight as it was the first time, but yeah, I like the Kevin Holland one. So hopefully Kevin can get it done against Brunson, and then that would be the one I'd go for.
Then as far as Ian Heinisch goes, I mean, he did okay. I thought like the fight, it was I think two judges gave it 29-28. I thought that, Calvin won all three rounds, but it was competitive where, Calvin wasn't really like destroying him. He was just taking him down and, doing what he had to do. But Heinisch, he had some moments. I felt like he almost landed that one flying knee. He could have knocked him out cold. It'd been like a Corey Sandhagen type knockout. So, but Heinisch, it didn't happen for him. So what do you think about him? I mean, you think he's just going to continue to be like a middling guy?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where he's sat throughout his entire like UFC run. And there's a few like young upstarts who have like came in, looked good, but then dropped the ball more recently. So yeah, I was thinking maybe Heinisch versus Shabazian.
Yeah, see, I would almost want them. I know he was supposed to fight Brennan Allen. They had that beef too, so that's a good one. I think Shabazian would be a good one too. Because Shabazian, it's like he's another guy that has a little bit of question marks, And Ian, I mean, I don't think he's the greatest fighter, but if you can beat him, you're probably close to the top 15. So that would
Yeah,
be
and
a bad matchup either.
that's I think that will be a really good test for Shabazian because we've seen him like slow down really badly after the first round, and Heinisch isn't the kind of guy to go away easily. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Then moving on to the co-main event, Alexa Grasso taking on Macy Barber. This fight, this was a fun fight in my opinion. It was one of the better fights on the card where, you know, the first round I thought was a pretty competitive round. The second round I thought, Alexa took it pretty clearly. I gave Alexa the first two rounds and then gave Macy the third round. And man, I mean, I got to give Macy some credit though because she really, she has some heart, man. She went for it real hard in that third round and laid it all out there, but it wasn't enough at that point. And Alexa got through on the first two rounds. She won those rounds, and she's looking good at flyweight. So, I mean, what did you think about the fight overall, and then just both girls?
yeah, I think this was one of the better fights on the card. I think Macy performed like really well when you consider that she's only 22 years of age, and Alexa Grasso's probably been doing the sport a bit longer and has had like a longer road to get to where she's at. And yeah, I just think that Grasso was a lot more crisp on the feet, and I think her takedown defense held up pretty damn well. And yeah, I thought it was somewhat close in exchanges and moments, but I thought Grasso pretty clearly won. And yeah, good fight.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what was frustrating, it's like, I don't know if it's just because, like you said, she's young, so I'm sure she's in the gym, like learning a bunch of new stuff all the time. But like, she's throwing these feints, man, from like way too far out. It's like I don't know who she's trying to hit with those shots, and it's like the third round, she finally kind of snapped into it, started coming forward, and started I thought she was dominating the fight. Like it looked like Macy almost won it out of there at certain. Or, I mean, Alexa almost won it out of there at certain points in the third round. So, but I mean, she just didn't turn it on fast enough. But I agree with you. I think she had a good performance, and I was actually impressed with Alexa. Man, I thought that she wasn't going to be able to, you know, keep up that good physically. I mean, she looked pretty big, and I actually think she's one of the best fighters in that division. I mean, if you look at 125, I don't really see that many girls that could beat Alexa. I mean, I think Alexa could. I know Caitlin Chukagian was asking to fight with her, and I mean, I'm not even opposed to that fight. I mean, I think that Alexa kind of shows she could beat almost everyone in that division.
Yeah, I think that if you're just going off of like pure rankings, that wouldn't make sense. But stylistically, it would be a good fight. And Chukagian, she's lost to a few of the girls at the higher end, so she definitely needs to be fighting backwards. I think that a fight between Grasso and Jojo would be a really fun fight.
Yeah, see, that would be another fight where that's a fight where I think that would test Grasso because I think there's certain fights that like if Grasso if she fought a girl like Cynthia Calvillo, I think some people maybe would think that's a close fight, but I think Grasso would win that one pretty easily. But with JoJo, I mean, I think that one would be one of the tougher fights her in the division. And but yeah, I was impressed by Alexa Grasso. I thought she looked pretty good. And then as far as Macy goes, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to kind of like pick a fight for her at this point because she's lost two fights in a row, and you don't really want to like ruin her confidence. But I mean, maybe I would give her someone like Andrea Lee, like something like that, where she could probably hit the takedowns. I think I would try to give her a more winnable fight in her next one. But what about you?
Yeah, I think especially with her being the age that she is, I think there's no point in giving her all these really hard fights. Yeah, I think they can definitely like take the slow road with Macy. So yeah, I think that that's a good one. Andrea Lee, and depending on whether or not she's actually retired, maybe even Molly McCann.
Yeah, Molly McCann. I mean, I think she would definitely win that fight. So I wouldn't be opposed to that one for sure. But yeah, I mean, I just hopefully they give her someone she could win against next. I don't want her to get like if they give her another like Tyler Santos or something and she loses again. I just don't want her to like lose confidence. But she seems like she's not that type of girl. But yeah, man, shout out to everyone giving the super chats in the in the chat. MMA Genie, VCR Repairman, appreciate all that for sure. But yeah, man, up next here we got the main event. I mean, crazy fight, man. I mean, Gilbert Burns. He's probably the closest guy, even though Colby Covington, I mean, he may be like one more rounds, one more minutes, but you could argue, I mean, Gilbert Burns was one punch away from winning the UFC title. So he was right there. I mean, it was within his grasp, but Usman, he showed, he has a hell of a chin, the heart of a champion. And then just once he got his game plan going, came forward, started snapping that jab in. I mean, he started taking over the fight. I do think Gilbert, early on, I mean, he was slipping the jab, and it seemed like he was way more flowy. And I feel like once he felt that he could hurt Usman, he started loading up, man, and it really, just gave Kamaru the fight. He started just beating him up with the jab. So kind of, a thing where Gilbert, I think he got a little bit too overconfident after the first knockdown, but he looked really good there. I mean, you got to give him credit. And then Usman, man, I mean, sick finish. And yeah, man, I mean, he's definitely the best welterweight in the world and really made a statement there where, he might be on his way to being the best welterweight of all time. So what did you think about the fight overall and just, everything? I mean, everything was intense, man. The stare down after the fight. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, usually a big fear leading into these type of fights where it's former teammates. You think, is this gonna be like a boring snooze fest? And this is why I was always going to pick Usman to win. I picked him to win by decision. I'm not one of these people who think that he wasn't like capable of getting a knockout, but I thought, maybe with them being teammates, they won't be like going at each other, trying to kill each other. But holy shit, Gilbert Burns definitely. I've been a huge fan ever since he started going on his run at welterweight, and yeah, he brought it like way more than I ever anticipated leading into it. And yeah, as you said, Kobe won more minutes if you want to look at it that way, but Gilbert was so close to getting it done. And I listened to his post-fight interview, and he was saying like after he hurt him that first time, he said, I quote, he went Cody Garbrandt crazy. So I guess that was his demise. But yeah, great fight.
Yeah, man. I mean, he had Kamaru hurt. Like, it wasn't just the knockdown too in that first round, man. He hurt him like multiple
Full
times. Where,
times, yeah.
yeah, like he was hitting him with that check left hook, man. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
Gilbert looked really good, really good.
I really thought that we were on our way to seeing like another Dustin Poirier style upset that would like shock the world, but Usman, chin on him, kept himself composed, and yeah, just kept it more technical and won based on that pretty much.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to talk about Usman too. I mean, what did you think about like that performance after the first round? I mean, the second round was crazy, man. I mean, it looked like Usman was getting a little bit overconfident to me too, like because Gilbert clipped him a couple times after he dropped him, but man, I mean, you almost finished him in the second round. Then the third round, he just took him out real quick, man. So, yeah, that was crazy. I mean, even after the fight, you could tell, man. I mean, Gilbert wanted that so bad, man. It was kind of hard to watch that at the end.
Yeah, that was sad. Yeah, what can you do? Just get back on the horse, and hopefully pick up another dub. He seems like the kind of guy who, whether he had won or lost, he probably would have cried. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, all credit to Gilbert too, man. I mean, he did all like I was surprised, like he did the post fight, and then you did an interview today, and you could tell like he's like devastated. But I feel like Gilbert, he definitely has like that mindset, like the mindset of a champion. But man, I mean, to beat Usman, man, you got to be like on another level, I guess. I mean, he almost did it. I mean, he was right there, like I said, but Usman, closed the door, finished him, so ended up being a dominant win for him. So he snapped George St. Pierre's record, most wins in a row at welterweight. I think he doesn't have the most title wins, obviously, but he's getting close to maybe surpassing GSP even. So I mean, what do you think about that? You think he's gonna maybe go down as the best welterweight of all time, or maybe even the best UFC fighter of all time?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard to say at this point because GSP just racked up so many title defenses. But in terms of matchmaking for Usman, you look over the division and he's literally beaten the best of the best in the entire division. So honestly, I think that the timing could coincide well for if Adesanya beats Jan Blachowicz, he could get his 15 minutes of sunshine with two belts. I think Usman should actually angle to go up to middleweight and fight for a vacant belt at middleweight while Adesanya's at light heavyweight and become a double champion himself. And then he brings himself even closer to that, GOAT moniker.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Usman yesterday, though. I mean, I guess we both saw it. I mean, after the fight, you saw what he wanted to do, right? He wants to get paid, man. He wants to fight George again, get that 1.5 million pay-per-view buys again. So I saw George was talking about Ultimate Fighter. So I mean, if they do that, I mean, I wouldn't be like super into the fight, but I mean, Usman deserves a payday if that's what he wants, So I think maybe they'll even do that, but yeah, I mean, that would just be a kind of another defense for Usman, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no way in hell I would ever pick Jorge Masvidal to beat Kamaru Usman in a fight. Just to put it bluntly, I would rather actually see Gilbert Burns fight Jorge Masvidal at this point, but it's the whole name draw and the BMF thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing Usman versus Masvidal again, even though it was completely lopsided and there's no need for a rematch.
Yeah, I mean, there was like the only round you could argue Masvidal won was the first round against
Yeah,
Usman the
yeah.
first time, but yeah, I mean, but when you look at it too, I mean, there's not really many guys like you said that he hasn't already fought. Like he fought Gilbert, he fought Colby, and he fought. I think he fought basically almost everyone in the top 10. Man, I mean, he fought Leon Edwards, Masvidal, Colby, Gilbert Burns,
Maya.
Woodley, yeah, Damian Maya. I guess he hasn't fought Wonder Boy. So I mean, Wonder Boy is another guy that I mean that's a stylistic matchup that would be kind of hard for him, So that's another fight that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing, but I think that Wonder Boy would have to win another fight.
Yeah, I think he needs to get one more in there after beating Jeff Neal, but I think he's also at that age as well where if he gets one more, I think Wonderboy is like the next logical choice in the division. I just think that Masvidal should not be fighting for a title.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but it's just like I said. I mean, I think Kamaru has earned it though, where if he wants that fight and he wants to get paid again, because I'm sure like this pay per view, man. I don't know how many pay per views it sold, but probably not that many. It's like the UFC
Yeah.
gave him that payday when he thought I think they sold almost 2 million him versus Masvidal. Then this time they're like, yeah, we'll give you pay per view points again, but the co-main event's gonna be fucking Alexa Grasso versus Barber. So I mean, he probably sold I don't know 150K pay per views for this one, but yeah, I mean, it was a crazy fight, awesome fight. I mean, Usman definitely made a statement, man, took him out. So yeah, I mean, you said you would want to see Gilbert Burns fight a guy like a Masvidal, so you wouldn't drop him down too far. You still think he deserves to be like in the mix, top 5 type of guy.
Yeah, and maybe you just had like a bit too quick of a rise through the rankings, but I mean, he very nearly finished a guy who we're talking about as a potential greatest, welterweight of all time, like so close to doing it on a couple of occasions. So I think he's definitely, a deserved top 5 guy, and the only guy I see in the top 5 coming off of a loss is Masvidal. So I think that, that should be the one.
And so as far as Kamaru goes, you're thinking he shouldn't even fight 170 pounder next. You think his best thing is to just try to move up?
Yeah, I think that, there's no point in, because there was a period of time when T Wood was talking about going up to fight middleweight, and T Wood never ended up doing that, and now he's in the position that he's in. I think Kamaru has literally done about as much as he can possibly do in a division, and with Adesanya's lack of presence at middleweight, I think that kind of leaves an opening for him to potentially grab that second belt. Taking on either Costa or Whitaker, and that opens us up to some more exciting matchups.
And you're saying you would want him to still be a double champ though, right? Like you wouldn't want him to just move up to 85, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I still kind of feel like I would still want to see him fight Colby again. That's one fight I do want to see again personally.
Yeah, just like that's another thing as well. If we're talking about fights for Usman going forward, I know that it's all about the money, but I would definitely, if there was a rematch on the horizon, I would rather it be Covington than Masvidal, because that was an amazing fight the first time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's UFC 258. That was the aftermatch. It was a great pay-per-view. So thanks everyone for watching, guys. Jack Attack, if you want to, give a shout out real quick where everyone can find you and what you're going to be doing on your channel coming up.
Yeah, you can follow me at Jack Attack MMA on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Yep, just MMA prediction videos every week. MMA live Q&As, that type of thing. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks for having me on, Guru.
Yep. All right, guys. Later.